So today, let me just jump right into the teaching. I'm going to, if you're watching this on YouTube, this is the teaching portion of a Facebook live distance healing. And I teach for a few minutes for a couple of reasons. One, to let everybody gather. The other is to establish a resonant bond with each other. If we're all kind of contemplating a similar thing, it helps. And the other is to teach, just so that we can be better distance healers. My goal is to actually help people with cancer and other physical ailments, like the physical part, not just the psychospiritual part. The psychospiritual part is actually a lot easier than the physical part. And so that's why I want to do this teaching. All right, so welcome everybody. I can just feel the group coming in. Can anybody else just feel us gathering? Even if you're watching this later, you can kind of feel people joining and coming in. It's almost as if you were sitting in a room blindfolded and had ear things on. You could still feel if suddenly the room filled up with a whole bunch of people. And I'm getting a similar awareness. So thank you for all being here. I feel that gathering enhances the distance healing. So speaking of enhancing distance healing, let's learn how to do it. And often when we try to learn anything like piano or tennis or writing, like, am I doing it right? Am I doing it right? And I'm here to tell you that if you're doing distance healing perfectly right, you're doing it wrong. If you're doing it right, you're doing it wrong. And what do I mean by this? Often when we do something right, we have a form that we follow very carefully. And the closer you follow that form, the less room for inspiration and change and everything else happens. So it doesn't mean that you don't have a discipline, you don't have any form at all, but the new has to come in. So the skill involved in that is the difference between like maybe a concert pianist, just like goofing around on the piano, not doing anything in particular, versus somebody who's never touched a piano before. It will sound different if somebody has had time to develop a relationship with the material. So being new doesn't mean being completely clueless about feedback, about what might sound good, what might not, what might work, what might not work. You definitely have experience of like good distance healing sessions and kind of blah distance healing sessions. So you can bring that with you. So I don't like forget everything you know and just be here in the now without any memory. But you do want to be here in the now with that memory, but also with the future. So if the memory of all your distance healing, all the things that you think you know about distance healing is in your past and you're bringing it into the now, there's also a whole bunch of stuff from the future that you haven't learned yet that is coming into the now that you can really only receive right now. But you can think that, okay, there's probably a lot about distance healing that I don't really know right now. And when you have that awareness, you link to it and you invite it in. So the way to the proper, I say proper with quotes, is the proper way to show up to this distance healing is not, okay, I'm going to hear and I'm going to do it right. Rather, I would encourage you to say, okay, I'm here now. My history has brought me here. My future is coming towards me. And I'm curious what I can make of right now. I'm curious what we will make of right now. I'm wondering if we can get some powerful healing going. I'm wondering if it will be boring. A good question to ask is, what can I be aware of that if I was aware of it, would enhance the healing for me and for the other people that are requesting healing. And just notice that by asking this question, there's this openness. Whereas if I say I'm doing it right, there's a closedness. And it's really that simple. You can also just open your hands and say, let me receive this healing. And you don't really know how to receive it, because the way you received it yesterday is not the right way to receive it now. It really isn't. It's nuanced. It's sort of like having dinner with somebody. If you had the very same dinner conversation every single time, it wouldn't be a relationship very quickly, and there wouldn't be this give and take. And if we're trying to have a relationship with the grace of the divine, if we're trying to have a relationship with a healing process, it needs to be fresh. All right, so we want to, you can do similar things, like you can show up every week, you can clear your schedule so that you're not distracted with a whole bunch of things, you can pay attention, but how you pay attention might be a little different today than it was yesterday or another session. All right. Let's see if there's anything else about doing without doing. That's a overlapping topic, but basically just don't think that you know how to do this today, but get curious about if you're doing it. Now, how do you tell if you're doing it? So, okay, so you got to have some sort of feedback. I'll tell you how I do. So I use my octave resonance healing approach. I might notice something physical, and I might feel a tingle in my body. I might feel like pain leave. A lot of pain leaves in this group. Like if people have cancerous tumors, a lot of times I get feedback that the pain either diminishes or goes away. So that's a way to tell that it's working, right? Now, long term, you can go and get scans and things like that of the cancer and see what's happening. In my book, there is another way, Energy Medicine for Pets with Cancer. Cassidy, if you're here, you can put the link in there. There's a whole chapter on how to tell if it's working. But that doesn't mean you're doing it right. If any of that stuff is happening, you just have to say, oh, isn't that interesting? The tumor just cooled down. The pain just left. I got a feeling of peace. A feeling of happiness. Oh, I'm feeling this grungy old feeling. It feels like something deep inside me is releasing. You want to notice all that stuff and not make it a little bit important because it's noticeable, but don't hang on to it like, oh, I have to have the tumor cool down every single time or it's not working, or I have to have that peaceful, happy feeling or I'm not doing it right, or I have to feel a sense of reverence and devotion or else that I certainly wouldn't be able to participate properly, or I have to be sitting in a certain position with my hands in a certain place, or it won't work. So all those things, I would call them dead rituals. They might have worked once, they might have been super powerful and important once, and you can try them again, but don't make them more important than they are, okay? Really, the only level of accountability with distance healing is the physical. You can have happy feelings, you can have sad feelings, you can see angels, you can see ancestors, you can, I don't know, experience fairies and unicorns, you can clairaudiently hear beautiful healing music, which is something that I often hear. You can clairvoyantly see images of tumors shrinking and vitality restoring. The only level of real accountability, though, is physical. But that doesn't mean that all those other layers aren't telling you you're on the right track. All right, so even if you see, like, God appear to you and say you will be healed, that's probably a better sign than God appearing to you and saying you're goodbye. But it doesn't mean you're all better yet. So it's like, oh, isn't that interesting? I just had this vision of this beloved deity blessing me with full recovery. So you say thank you, and you don't make it more important than it is. And I'm not saying that it's not important, but you don't want to grab onto it. And I get it. When you have cancer, chaos is the name of the game, and chaos rules. And I would say that the gift of chaos is that you can't hang on to anything, any form, because it evaporates. Like today it works and tomorrow it doesn't. It evaporates. The thing that doesn't evaporate is your connection to you. And as you navigate, and it's my desire to help you as either somebody who needs healing for cancer or somebody who's helping somebody heal with cancer, or if you're here for some other ailment, that this relationship with yourself it's not unchanging, but it's solid. And it is often the gift of cancer because it will guide you, and it can guide you. Almost even more reliably than your relationship with a deity, because it's like that part of you that can receive guidance from something beyond you has to be intact. And that's the gift of Cancer. And I'd love to have some discussion in the group, either now or later. Like there's a couple people here that have basically cured themselves of cancer without chemo or radiation. And like, do you feel like that's true? I mean, I could be wrong, or it could just be a nuance that's sometimes true. I'm curious if you felt that increased sense of trust in your own guidance system, your own, yes, I'll do it that way now, please. Yeah. All right, yes. Okay, good. All right, so let's begin. If you're watching in YouTube, you can always join us over at the Spirit Gate Cancer Support Facebook group live, or the recordings of the distance healings are there too. Okay, and the reason I do that is just to create a little bit of effort for you to join the group, and that helps it work. All right, so this is free. I don't need money for this, but we do need to give something, and just that effort of I'm joining the group, I'm part of this group, is helpful for the healing process. All right, and you can also give by participating in the group, like, you know, commenting, paying it forward. Just giving is a circulatory thing, so just think about that. All right,